Shauna,
Yes.
I'm so proud right now. I am so proud to hear the word that was spoken about Mr.
It's
Pritchet.
amazing, and we have more.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's get right to it because we do have more. Welcome to On the Road with Doc Pritchet. I almost did it again. And
Good to
down the
meet you.
line, let's introduce ourselves.
We'll let you guys introduce yourselves. We'll start here.
My name's Nick Palka, and I first met Mr. Pritchet working at Bancroft School, where I've been for the last 10 years. And like everybody else said, it's just an honor to be here to support someone that's been tremendously influential on my personal career and an inspiration to me just in general in life and in person.
My name is Sean Lockett. I've known Mr. Pritchet for about 20 years. I was a former student of his at Bancroft. And right now I'm a director of a Dodge Daycare Center, and I'm in transition, now moving into teaching math. And Mr. Pritchet has helped me along my way to get me to where I am now.
My name is William Waters, and I'm a former teacher at Bancroft. I retired from the public school, and I've met Mr. Pritchet about 30 years ago. I was just elated to be asked to come on, and also I think the support of this is so important because it's something that should be done, and he's worthy of all of it.
Okay. First of all, thank you all for coming again. We're just honored to have you here tonight, and speaking on behalf of Mr. Pritchet, we know how much it means to him that you guys have come on, taken time and to express your support. And Shauna, one other thing that I believe is true is that the current principal at Bancroft, Mr. Butch Ingram, word has it from my sources that he supports this idea. So we appreciate that, and if that is indeed the case, we believe that that's the right thing to do.
So I'd like to hear some stories. Like, I'm very interested to hear. I know my interaction with Doc Pritchet has just been relatively small, like just about 2 years, but you guys have known him for a long time. Nick, you want to start?
Sure. Mr. Pritchet was somebody that hired me straight out of college, and my first experience with him was actually by a phone call. And he called me for an interview, and I only talked to him for probably about 90 seconds, but I remember I hung up my phone and I thought, wow, who was that guy? Because there's just something different about him. And I went to Bancroft the next day for my interview, and I didn't know Mr. Pritchet from anywhere. I grew up in Newark, did not attend Bancroft, unlike it seems like the whole rest of the world.
I didn't either.
And I didn't know him at all. I didn't know anything about him, and I walk in his office, and there's a picture of him shaking President Bush's hand, and I thought, wow. And we had an interview for probably about 15 minutes, and I began to put pieces together as the days went by, and I thought, wow, I have a pretty good privilege here working for this man, I think. And over the course of the next several years, and now after spending 10 years at Bancroft, I've seen him on a daily basis as a leader, as a friend, as a father figure, as a counselor, as a pastor. I've seen him, behind the scenes. I've seen him in the forefront, and just a great man. And if I could pick one thing that I've really learned from Mr. Pritchet, it's the ability to make everyone feel special.
Yeah.
And he has that amazing grace on his life. He used to be out at the buses every morning. Didn't matter how cold it was, how hot it was. He was out there in a suit and tie and overcoat, bundled up, waiting for the kids to get off the bus, hugging kids.
Yeah.
And every kid that walked in that building felt special.
Yeah.
And not everybody can do that.
Right.
And he's taught me so much. Teaching is my profession. I'm actually the phys ed teacher in the gym that we hope to name after Mr. Pritchet. But he's just taught me so much about how to treat people, and he's taught me that you're only as good of a teacher as you can show the kids that they love you, because if they don't know that you love them, then they don't care how much you know.
Wow.
Right.
And he's taught me that, and just given me so much encouragement, so much inspiration on being a leader in a community full of young people that need it.
Right.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Sean?
Yes, I can remember as a youngster going to Bancroft. As kids, you're trying to find your way, as you're coming up. And when I was attending Bancroft, I was Well, at the time, I didn't think I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. But Mr. Pritchet would always kindly call my parents and let them know that, right, exactly, that Sean, he's a good kid, but I think he's hanging with the wrong crowd, and that's just not the type of family that I see him coming from. So he genuinely cares for the pupils that he's had in his school. And like I said, as I got older, just knowing that, and like Nick said, you always go to the school and it's always a handshake or a hug from Mr. Pritchet, and you need that. People think sometimes with kids, oh, they're just kids, but you never know what a child is going through, what they had to go through to get up in the morning just to come to school. And a lot of times, school was that safe haven for a lot of kids. And then for Mr. Pritchet to be there and for him to give you that hug and show you love, it just gives you that peace that you need throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I was coming up as I graduated high school, for one of the schools that I wanted to attend, I had applied late. And I just happened to see Mr. Pritchet, and I said, Mr. Pritchet, this is my situation. And he was like, you know what, don't worry about it. I'll make a few phone calls for you, and I'm going to help you out. And he did that, and I got in. It was no problem at all whatsoever. And just as of late, with this transition that I'm going into teaching math, I was telling somebody, I need to contact Mr. Pritchet, because I know he probably could help me out. But I didn't know how to go about doing it because, he retired. He's not at Bancroft, so I wasn't exactly sure how to get in contact with him. I didn't know at that point that he was doing Pritchet Associates and that he had these other things going on. I just thought maybe he retired and did like most folk, they go down to Florida. So, but it was so funny how it happened. Two of my employees, her kids, they got kicked off the bus, and they got kicked off the bus, which was no problem, but they should have provided them a way to the daycare after that, but they didn't. So Mr. Pritchet brought them to the daycare, but I didn't know this, and I just happened to be leaving at that time, and I see the kids, and I speak to them, and lo and behold, I see Mr. Pritchet, and it's the same guy that I said I needed to talk to,
wow.
To try to help me out to get into the school system. Now, I told him my situation, and he says, you know what, and this is about 4:45 in the afternoon, and a lot of schools are closed at this point. And he said, you know what, I'm going to make a phone call for you right now. He's like, I don't know if we're going to get anybody, but, it doesn't hurt to try. So he makes the phone call. We do get somebody, and we set up a meeting that day. Well, we set it up that day, for the upcoming week. And it was just awesome because, he took the time out of his day and made a phone call right then and there. Most people say, oh, I'll make a phone call for you, and maybe they'll make it the next day or a couple days later. Yeah. But he did it right then and there with no questions asked, and we went to the meeting. Everything worked out well, and now I'm about to start teaching. Thanks to Mr. Pritchet. Awesome. So it's just been a joyous occasion, and he, like I said, he has that love for the community. He's, like a lot of the other panelists said, he's a legend around the city. Yep. You can't be in the city and staying with Mr. Pritchet for any length of time without people coming by saying, oh, Mr. Pritchet, how you doing, how you doing? And because that's just how well respected he is in the community. Right. And when I think about Mr. Pritchet, I think about somebody who is a social entrepreneur. And what that is people who bring up the society as a whole, so everybody can be better. And Mr. Pritchet does it on the very small basis because, people make up the society. So, he touches everybody, different people in the society. So at a young age, so when we get older, we can be productive citizens as a whole.
Awesome. Wonderful. Mr. Waters?
Like Mr. Packle said, that I didn't go to Bancroft, and actually I was born in Maryland, so I came through another route. I substituted at the school, and then a position became available. So I worked for Mr. Pritchet for over 20 years. I was reading an article just a day or so ago, and it was saying how Andrew Young, he's like 50 years in the civil rights and all that, and he walked alongside Dr. King. Well, I couldn't walk alongside Dr. King because when he was assassinated, I was 12. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking in terms of this. They said Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, he was a drum major for peace. Well, I think the thing we need to let it be known is that Mr. Pritchet is a drum major for education. Mm-hmm. He's interested in, not just one class of people, but he's interested in children. That's so very important, and we could go on, and time wouldn't allow now, but he's always there for the benefit of children and trying to get them to attend college and open this door, and if he can make a phone call and he can do these things or try to encourage and that. And it should be that it shouldn't be hard to just do the renaming and do what they have to do to make this thing go through because what he has done in the community.
Beautifully said. To all three of you, first of all, you all tell powerful stories.
Yes, really. It's so wonderful. I was really glad that you guys spoke. It was great. Because, like I said, I didn't grow up in Delaware. I was born here, but I didn't grow up here. And I've only known Doc because of you, through our program.
Okay.
And I've seen, 10 events, and he comes on, and I'm like, he's wonderful. But this is 30 years worth of he's wonderful,
Yeah, 30 and beyond,
Right.
And one of the things that I heard so much tonight, so much, but the one thing about the different class of people, it doesn't matter. Children matter to Mr. Pritchet, and that means red, black, yellow, white, green, beige, tan, whatever. Education and your well-being, the well-being of the students. And I think that this program tonight, On the Road with Doc Pritchet, it is just a snapshot of the power that is going to be input into the community. Mr. Pritchet has a platform now, and I'm sure he's going to be utilizing you guys more and more as time goes forward. This won't be your last time on the show. Just the next time you get to see the doc himself.
We only have 2 minutes. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, please, Shauna.
I think it's remarkable that we've had all these people come and share their impressions of Dr. Pritchet and Mrs. Pritchet. It's one thing to recognize what they do when you're adults and you can look back and see it. But what we've seen is the interaction, like at the basketball camps and the SAT prep, when they're little, and they're still saying to me, off camera, he's great. I love him. They're so, when they're little and they recognize it. It's amazing. So thank you very much, you guys, for coming on.
Thank you.
I'll grab your hand a little bit later. So, in closing,
at home, we hope that you enjoyed this program tonight. Shauna and I are honored to have had this opportunity to bring you the inaugural episode of On the Road with Doc Pritchet. Remember to tune in the second Sunday of every month from 7 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. live with Doc Pritchet.
take care. Doc Pritchet, we love you. Have a good night.